Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic, and we need to focus on that. If not for yourself, then do it for your children.
Black book is in
black. Black
book.
Men Talk, Black Book. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team, that movement since 2020, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. Excusez-moi. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And just want to make you aware that you are watching Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community. And I'm joined with one of my co-hosts, Kofi Sadat. What is going on?
I'm all good, all good. Glad to be here, family. My apologies today, folks. I will not be on camera. A little bit under the weather, but I am here in spirits. I am here in the physical. I am here in the verbal. And great to always be here with my co-host, Dr. Vibe. Shout out to other co-hosts, Kofi. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, man. People are talking about the heat wave, but I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. Melanin popping. Ready to start dropping. Here we go. But I'm good, and I want to say welcome to everybody tuning in this week.
Yeah, so talk to me. What's a win you've had this week? You were sharing a little bit before we went live, but you can go full out now.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes the wins that we have are not directly, about our win, but what we see happening. So I want to give a shout out to my son Sekou. He's been on the show before. He did like a great community event on Friday, Taylor Creek Park, where he just had a day where, he wanted to create a day of joy for, Black youth and youth in general. But, he was launching his clothing line, but it's less about the clothing line, more about having a day of fun. They had like three-legged race, tug of war. We're talking about young people from ages, 15 to 25. They had, food. It was all free. But what I loved most about it, is to see, young people just out there enjoying themselves. No cell phones, no electronics, PS5 or whatever it is, but really expressing that. And then, also, and I don't really want to compare it, but I think definitely one of our past conversations was about the challenges of, when young people get together and violence. It was quite the opposite. It was just a great event. So I want to, give him some flowers and all the folks who supported it, because that was just crazy. Like one of my moments too, Dr. Vibe, you will not believe it. And this was intentionally done. So it's very interesting. The person who was the videographer had one of those 1980s VHS kind of.
No.
And I was like, really? But actually, and it was intentional. They liked that look. They liked the retro. I was like, what? Man, I need to get into this video. I need to dig out my old video machine and see what's good. But yeah, it was like nice to see that. But yeah, just kudos to the young people who came out, showed out. Always got to give them their flowers, especially because, in terms of media and whatnot, we don't often hear about the positivity of Black youth and this is the great things they're doing. So yeah, that was the win. Definitely that was the win. What about yourself? What was your win?
Before we get to myself, I want to ask, when you watched your son at that event, what did you feel?
Yeah, a great sense of pride, and for me, it's what folks were saying, like this is, great events, knowing that, he always tries to put on things to bring community together, because the event was all about bringing community together. Right. So I really felt a sense of pride and, in a way, some continuity, right? Because that's a lot of work that, I do and folks like yourself, and elders in the community who's been holding it down and putting things on for young people. So I felt a great sense of pride. It's interesting, as you mentioned, that the first person I saw at the event was one of the young people. She's 30 now, but I used to work with her when she was 14, and she was telling me about
Oh, wow.
all this food justice programs, and I know she's doing all out of her own money, right? But really
Wow.
giving back to community. So again, it's an affirmation that these young people are here. They're stepping into leadership. So again, coming back to it was really a sense of pride to see not just him, but the other young people who were taking leadership and giving back. And I love that. So that's really what I was coming away with from the event.
So stepping in and stepping up.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that.
Love it. Yeah, that's fantastic. How much planning did you have to do with that event? How much planning did it take?
Oh, you know what? I gotta give a shout out to his cousin as well, because the one Zoena, the one thing that they did do was they really took the time to plan it out as young people, and maybe it took a couple months maybe to plan it out, to be honest with you, but I think the community connection was there already, and it was just built upon. So when the word went out, this is going to happen, folks were coming from all over the city to engage in the event, by bus, train, plane, however they got there. So I think that, it's important to begin with the engagement, and then you can let people know you're doing something. So yeah, they definitely did a couple months planning, logistics and stuff like that. So again, really stepping into their power and celebrating themselves and putting joy first, right? Which is what I love. So yeah, it was just really good in that way.
Congratulations.
So what about you, sir? What's your win? I know you're always busy like a bee. What's the win in Dr. Vibe?
Reaching more of our people, more and more of our people. Actually, I was asked on Friday night, on Thursday, I was asked to appear with a group of people on Friday night to have a reflection and recollection of Malcolm Jamal Warner. I was very blessed, and I was intentional. I gave my lens from a Black man's point of view.
Yes.
What his role, not only on the Cosby Show, but what things he did after, and how it was significant and great representation of Black manhood.
Right.
Sure. I don't know how many people watch the show, but one of the episodes, it found out he had dyslexia, and the family handled it so professionally and supportively. And also Mr. Warner, he was Blackalicious, no joke.
Yeah.
He held his space, he held his presence. He didn't let the industry that he was in define who he was. He defined himself for that industry.
For sure. Definitely, that's those some folks that have left a legacy even in their young time on earth, because definitely is people of African descent, we have a tendency to live long and live good, but he left so much. There was a conversation I saw that an interview he had done, and he was talking about how his dad set him up, right? And his dad set him up. What he meant by it was his dad named him after Malcolm X, and I forgot the other Jamal person he named him after. I don't want to say it, but long story short, his dad used to make him, be reading, the poems of Malcolm X and the readings and this and that during the summer, and he wanted to go out and play and all this kind of stuff. And when he got into school a little bit later, and his folks were bugging him, your name, the poem of Malcolm is about you, which was about Malcolm X, right? He recognized right there and then that, his dad had set him up in a way to give him that, that knowledge, that wisdom, that insight, that exposure to his identity and his culture and all those pieces. And young people his age were not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes, oh, okay, that's what you were doing. He goes, he used to regret it when he got old. He's like, Dad, I understand what you were doing. You know what I mean? You were setting me up for greatness. And I just love that. It was so touching to see, you know, that reflection, you know, and I love that, you know, especially as being a father as well. But I just loved it. It was wonderful.
Yeah, so that was a blessing. And there were people, I was the only Canadian representative. So they treated, my guy was a Canadian, whatchamacallit, Canadian rep, the Canadian, or whatever that you want to call it. And it was good. If I have your permission, I read in my close, I read some words about him to the audience. Do I have your permission to just read it before we go to break?
Please go ahead, brother.
Okay, so I mentioned this on the show that was on Friday. It was hosted on another platform, though it was broadcast on my own, but I was not the host platform. But this is how I close it off, saying Malcolm Jamal Warner's journey reminds us that Black men are allowed to be complex, creative, and caring. His legacy is not just in the roles that he played, but in the doors he opened and the conversations he started about family, self-worth, and community.
Shay, that's big. Hey, Producer Matthew, we need some hand claps in the background or whatnot.
We're in the wrong. There's another platform that can be done. We can talk about that offline.
This is it. Well, what we're gonna do, you know, it in a different way. We're gonna give the clap so people can hear the clap. I think that's powerful, brother. It's powerful.
Clap to Mr. Warner. Clap to Mr. Warner. Not to me. I'm just the vessel, just expressing what I know, and also too, how many Black men expressed the loss online and how many were impacted. Like we all were impacted, but just a number of Black men who I saw online were impacted or had stories to say, oh, this episode, that episode. So it was great to see. And we have someone online. Free Will says, hello, gentlemen. Hello back to you. And it also gives a clap emoji. So I don't know what you are clapping about. Maybe it was what I shared with you. Thank Mr. Warner for that, because that's what he put in us. So that is that. All right. We're going to go for a break, and we've got another, for many of you, a new friend, but for us, a friend who's not been with us, or he hasn't been on this platform for a while. He's been on my platform a while back. And this, he's a world machine, because I had to ask him, where is he chiming in from today? Because he's all over the world in a good way. So after the break, we're going to have Dr. Sam Tita with us, and let's take our break and let's go for 30 seconds. Aisha K. Staggers and Laura Lala here in the house. What is up?
The thing that Democrats should take away from the loss isn't what Harris did wrong so much, so as what they did wrong.
And I'm going to tell you right now, we are the ones who are going to have to save our own selves. Don't be looking for some white man to come and save you.
The people who created the phrase "stay woke" are like woke ideology. We would have never put those together. And then what is that ideology? Oh, you mean differences? Oh, you mean people who aren't like you?
There we go. Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala. Saturday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, where the two ladies who are African-American queens try to make sense of the nonsense that's going on in America. So just before we get Dr. Sam up to stage, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack to advertise your business, product, or service on any of our platforms. Please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com, and then join our Discord group. You can email me at dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. So, Kofi Sadat, I'm going to let you introduce our friend.
For sure. And as we say, this is a conversation. It is not a soliloquy. So definitely, I want to start by, introducing Dr. Sam Tita as an elder, respected elder, a community worker, as somebody that is an entrepreneur, somebody who is an author. We'll talk more about his book, but an author of The Black Truth, Healing 500 Years of Colonial Lies, an innovator, someone who's going to be taking us into the future, talking about the smart city. We want to hail him up, of course, as a father and as a grandfather, as a community member. And we want to give it up to none other than Dr. Sam Tita. How you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course, every time. I'm glad we can finally make it because, as Dr. Vibe says, you're a hard man to pin down. You're here, you're there everywhere, which is a good thing. You're traveling around, so definitely, we're going to hear a little bit more about your travels and some of the work that you're doing. But it's glad to have you here. How are you doing on this Sunday evening?
Well, doing very well. Lots of things to do after church.
Yep.
Just try to relax and catch up on some things and family. But all is good. I'm glad to be here. I've been on Dr. Vibe's platform before, world class. If you haven't been on Dr. Vibe's platform, well, you still have some catching up to do. So,
hey, I received that.
Brother, listen, you've been a pillar in this media landscape, speaking our stories for so long. So I'm glad to be back here. I'm glad to be back on.
Well, it is a pleasure to be here with you. So I'm going to let Sadat start the conversation.
All right. No worries. No worries. All right. So, Dr. Sam, as you mentioned at the top, you're a traveling man. So let us know a little bit, around the catalyst of your travels and where you've been traveling to, kind of where you're coming from, so folks can understand who Dr. Sam is.
Well, thank you very much. Most of the travel that I've been doing recently, of course, I'm a businessman, so very often when we travel, even when we do vacations, there's some kind of business associated with it. My travels in more recent times, though, have been almost exclusively business related, and particularly to the continent of Africa for various reasons. But fundamentally, it's been around the smart city project that we're building in Limbe, Cameroon. That's in the Central African sub-region. That has been taking me a lot of my time through Cairo, so Egypt, Morocco, Chad, Mali, Cameroon, but the project itself is happening in Cameroon, so that's where most of the travels have been to.
Nice. So, before we get into the specifics of the project that you're doing, I've heard you speak before about the importance of, correcting the misconceptions about Africa as being, a backward place or a place that has not contributed anything. Could you speak a little bit to that?
Oh, absolutely. In my Black Truths is my eighth book. Yeah, Black Truths: Healing 500 Years of Colonial Lies. I speak about that a fair bit, and in that book, of course, I'm postulating concepts that will go against the dominant narrative about people of African descent generally, and the continent of Africa in particular. For those of you who haven't been there, listen, man, save up some money and go down to Africa. What you will experience there will be unlike anything that the dominant narrative out west and in the global north perpetrates. And the sad thing is that a lot of our people have actually bought into it, even though there's a renaissance happening and people are becoming more aware of truths. But there are so many people who still don't want to be associated with being African. They'll tell you, well, no, listen, man, thank you, but I'm from the Caribbean. I'm Canadian, I'm American. They don't want to, but it is a huge misconception. Africa has some of the best cities in the world, fastest growing economies globally. At least in the top 10, you'll find at least 5 African countries. In terms of, some of the richest people in the world are from there, some of the best economies, most beautiful city in the world, as is claimed to be in Africa. This is in South Africa. Yes, Cape Town. It's supposed to be the most beautiful city in the world, best place to live. We have the natural environments, the ecology, listen, the culture. We were thousands of years of empires, and I was in Mali, I mentioned a little while ago, and I didn't get to Timbuktu, but in Timbuktu is in Mali. A lot of people, when they hear Timbuktu, is in the dominant narrative, but a lot of folks think it's just a mention of some fiction, but it's an actual place with universities there that go back 1,400 years, over 1,000-year-old universities on the continent of Africa. So no, Africa is not this place that a lot of people perceive because of the dominant narrative. The truth is, when I travel there, especially when you travel business class, a lot of the folks that occupy business class, they're Japanese, they're Indians, they're Chinese, they're Canadians, they're Americans, they're Europeans. They're paying all of this money. First class travel is not $200. They're paying thousands of dollars to go down to this place that supposedly nothing is happening at. And there's a good reason for it. And so that's really why we decided, listen, it's one thing to write books, to go on television and on social media and be in conversations, but we wanted to now jump in to the reason a lot of these folks are going down to Africa, which is because of the opportunities, the return on investments down on the continent. It's better than any place else in the world right now, period. Because even the Chinese, they're relocating factories and businesses into Africa. The ROIs down there are amazing. So we decided we were also going to be a part of it. No more standing on the sidelines, leaving comments on Facebook and just talking about things. We wanted to make sure that we were also going to be part of this fourth industrial revolution and to take advantage also of what actually naturally belongs to us. The problem is that a lot of our people have succumbed to this unfortunate narrative, and it's keeping them away. So we're here working 3-4 jobs, 16, 18-hour days, thinking that this is the way to live. I have friends and people on the continent that if you gave them citizenship anywhere in the world and you put even $100,000 in their account, they will say no thank you, because they don't want to leave down there.
That's it. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's interesting because I had a similar experience years ago. I went to Ghana, and interestingly enough, when we went down, it was, people of African descent, but on the way back, the plane was full of Asian people, which was weird. I was like, oh, so they were returning from, Ghana to go back and forth. So I do understand that. But, speaking about that, and I'm glad you mentioned, all the wonderful things, that the continent has to offer. How important do you think it is for young people, especially of African descent, to know some of the things we're talking about and to understand it? What kind of impact do you think it would have on young people who are living here in North America?
It will make a world of difference. You see, you can't really know who you are and where you're going if you don't know where you came from. Okay, because you see, in the global north, let's say Canada, we live in Canada. We talk about Black History Month, the month of February, and typically, again, kudos to Dr. Jean Augustine. She's actually one of the. She did a really nice write-up in that book, that last book of mine, Black Truth: Healing 500 Years of Colonial Lies. So I respect her, I honor her. But you see, Black History Month, unfortunate thing about it is, when we talk about Black History Month, we typically relegate it to how Black folk were, enslaved, and then some people ran away, the Underground Railroad and all the things. Now, I respect all of those struggles and how we got to be where we are now. But listen to me, I need my young people to know that the history that we have go back thousands of years, that our people existed in empires, had universities, had development. As a matter of fact, in I think in that same book, I'm not sure, I've written several of them now, but in that same book, I mentioned even in the Bible where the Ethiopian eunuch is traveling by chariot into Ethiopia. Okay. Now, if he is traveling by chariot into Ethiopia 2,000 plus years ago, it would mean that in Ethiopia, there was already an industry where chariots were built, chariots were maintained. It would also mean that there were roads big enough for chariots to be driven on, because chariots back then was the Mercedes-Benz and the Rolls-Royce of the 2000 years ago. It also meant that there was industry. There had to be blacksmiths. There had to be a full-scale industry that was happening there. And then if you look at the fact in the Bible itself, as it talks about the Kandake, the queen of Ethiopia, that eunuch was serving under, that the lineage of that queen going back 300-400 years, the same Kandake queen was the one who stopped Alexander from conquering Ethiopia. They were coming to invade, and she, leading her own army, stood and said, Alexander, if you want peace, return to where you're coming from. Otherwise, come and perish. Alexander the Great, so-called, never went into Ethiopia as a result of that particular queen. So I want my people to understand that we have that kind of history, because otherwise everyone else is asking, well, look at the Europeans and what they did for their posterity. Look at the Chinese, look at the Indians. What happened to us? That is because in the history books of the world, in the dominant narrative, they have intentionally deleted our history. Look at it. It was only in 2024 that Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, said they were going to make sure that Black history was written into the curriculum in 2024 of all times. You see, so we have to know, our people have to know, that we are a powerful people. We have a rich history, that we're not just the children you see on TV with raised stomachs and flies buzzing all around them. This is what the people who need your money, who want to get money from you, that's the images they're showing. I have not met children like that growing up from the continent of Africa. I have not met them. I'm not suggesting that there is no poverty in Africa, as there is poverty here and everywhere else in the world, but I'm saying that is not the picture of Africa. We have a very rich and powerful history. When you go down there, you meet. When we see a Black doctor here, we're like, oh my gosh, a Black doctor. Well, come to Cameroon, come to Nigeria. They're all Black, okay? We talk about judges and athletes and inventors. They're all down there. So our people need to know these things. And that was one of the reasons why I wrote Black Truth, Healing 500 Years of Colonial Lies, because those colonial lies have held us. We call them invisible tethers that continue to bind us to a history of servitude, even mentally. Healing cannot begin without us understanding, first of all, who we are as a people, and then letting go of that past and facing the real future that we have, which should be built on the truth about who we used to be and have always been. Okay?
Ashe. Thank you, Elder. That was powerful, and that was passionate, and that was truthful. So I want to thank you for that. Dr. Vibe, we got a couple of people checking in. Do we want to give some?
Well, we're going to do, but I'm going to also bring Brother Kofi on the screen.
Okay.
Kofi is with us. He just needs to unmute himself, and then I'll go through some of the lots of comments. So we got Free Will saying, I appreciate seeing you guys. He also, Black Nerd Talks. Good to see you, my brother. Says, salute, brothers. Also, Free Will says, respect is given. Free Will agrees with Dr. Sam. I'm just reading what they're saying. Dr. Vibe, world class, quote, world class. I received that. Free Will says, you are, quote, world class, Dr. Vibe. I received that. Black Nerd says, tough few weeks, but it's getting better and better every day. Good stuff. We're here to help you, by the way, any way we can. Free Will says, all is well. Dr. Vibe also asks if Black Nerd Talks is in the United States. No, he's in north of the 49th. Michelle Baptiste, who's usually checking out the Black Canada Talking, is here this evening. Liberty White says, good evening. Ryan O'Neill Knight is not with us tonight. He's on my Monday and Friday show. So it's Dr. Sam and both Kofis. Openly Gray Life with Keisha is saying, hey, everyone. Black Nerd Talk says you need to look and interview Robin Walker. Openly Gray Life also says, this is so true. This was one of the only images I saw of Africa and growing up in Canada. We got anybody else? Black Nerd Talk. Okay, we'll get to that a little bit later. Kofi, brother Kofi, how are you? Can't hear you.
I'm blessed, brother. I'm blessed. I feel like Dr. Sam is like
is a gem that you guys have been keeping from me. I don't understand why. I don't know why. I'm glad to be on the show tonight. You know, I'm hearing the passion in his voice, and a lot of what you have accomplished in this time that you've been here, brother. I'm looking forward to hearing and learning some more. And thank you. Welcome to the show.
Good stuff.
I'm going to plug something, Dr. Vibe, already. I could see I'm going to go on the grace of the vibe. Usually we try to wrap up around 9 o'clock, but I think we're going to go into overtime right now.
That's up to you guys.
All right.
That's
Okay.
up to you guys. And more importantly, that's up to Dr. Sam.
There you go. Okay. All right. So, Dr. Vibe, do you have a question that you want to share?
I have a conversation piece. I was going to lean, so that was wanting to lean in the name of the city, but because you put it so wonderfully about the continent Africa, and this show is called Black Men Can Talk, I would like, from your lens, what is the state of Black men in Africa, the Africa that you know?
Dr. Vibe, was that question directed
for you? Because you just gave us such a beautiful runway to take off on this conversation to Africa. All right. I'd like to know what, from your lens, is the state, the mind, of Black men in Africa, because you have the best perspective out of all the people on this screen.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you sat amongst the circle that, you know, by God's grace, I'm privileged to sit in, these guys want nothing but a takeover. Okay, we know that the only way that we are going to make sure that our posterity don't experience what we have experienced is to move at warp speed. So you've got guys that are inventing, they are creating, they are building. They're not afraid. They're not, even those who don't have the PhDs or a master's degree, they're in business. I tend to believe, I have a book coming out where I actually posit that entrepreneurship and not education is really and truly the great equalizer, because the world is ruled today by entrepreneurs. And this is what you find on the continent, okay? A lot of people in business, making a difference, building generational wealth for themselves and for their families, and they're making a huge impact on communities. So no shortage of Black men, African men who are great examples for people for young people on the continent, on the education front, on the business side, STEM education, science, technology, engineering, inventions. I mean, we have these so-called unicorns, companies valued at over $1 billion, popping out of Africa here and there, everywhere. Of course, led by Big Brother Nigeria, and just doing amazing things. It's hard for, you see, I read somewhere recently, our brothers and sisters in the United States in particular, and some in Canada, when they think about the richest Black people in the world, their minds immediately go to people like LeBron James and Jay-Z and Michael Jordan and people like that. What they don't realize is that when you name 10 of the richest Black men in the world, I don't even think any of them features from the United States. They're all from the continent, from beginning with Aliko Dangote, and the list goes on. So a lot of wealth generated through business, the focus on moving the narrative from what has been to where we want it to be. We talk about in the African Union as building the Africa that we want, and to do so, all hands on deck, and the men are definitely leading the charge. And I'll tell you, there are some supernatural women in the midst of all of that, women that you should probably even be more afraid of than the men, because they are so powerful. I'm telling you, they are so powerful. And you know, in the animal kingdom, you know, the lion and the lioness, the lion gets all the glory, but it's the woman, the lionesses, that actually do the hunting. You understand? It is not very different. There are some very powerful women in Africa who are helping their men to lead, but they are also not staying behind. They're taking charge as well. So a lot of great stuff going on. Listen, there has never been a better time to be a black man in this world than today.
It's a powerful statement. Brother Kofi?
Gosh, hey, beautiful. Oh man. So many questions come, my brother. I'll take a page out of the book of something that you speak about, which is radical trust. And it's, I like to kind of dig into these questions. So I'm wondering, like, what would you say has challenged your trust the most deeply, and how have you navigated that in this space of business and again, balancing these various worlds that you're in?
Okay. Well, Radical Trust is a book I wrote several years ago, and it was based on a particular encounter I had with God. And I wrote that book. I actually taught on it yesterday morning. I'm on a series. Prevail in Life and Ministry is our leadership and discipleship series, which is based on 4 of my books. Radical Trust is the second in the trilogy of books. But trust is, unfortunately, everywhere you look, husbands are betraying wives, wives betraying husbands, kids betraying parents, parents betraying kids, business people, well, man, you name it. We have entire departments of lawyers that are writing contracts so that, no one can wiggle through those contracts. And yet we still have to end up in court because people are people. They are smart, and they're always going to find ways to break and breach some of those trust documents. You see, when we write those contracts, we try to take away the trust factor. Okay, but it's just not possible. So what I say is, you live life without trusting people. You have to, but you also have to understand truly. Even at 55 now, I have the wisdom to be able to make a statement like this. Trust people, but remember that we live in a fallen and in a broken world, where people come into relationships with all kinds of baggages, okay? They've been hurt, they've been lied to, they've been disappointed in life, they have been taught incorrectly, they've learned from the wrong people, heard the wrong messages, and so they come into these relationships sometimes very, very broken. And they do their best to try to live up to certain moral norms or what is expected of them by society. But listen, I'm not giving a get out of jail free card to anyone or encouraging anyone to not do their best. But I'm saying to you, for the sake of your mental health, make sure that you prepare yourself, because there is going to be breaches of trust. We've had breaches of trust on our business side where we were stolen from by people that we trusted. We had partnerships with companies that would go behind our backs and try to sabotage us. We have family members who have stolen and done things. And, what do? You find your center. And that's why I don't know how people who do life without God. I'm a preacher, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, a follower of Jesus Christ. I don't know how people do it, because if it wasn't for him and that relationship as my anchor, let me tell you something. There was a season just about 4 years ago when, we had so many losses in business and just disappointments that your brother was so stressed by all of it. There were days that I was scared to go to sleep because I was sure that I wasn't going to wake up, because I had all of this on me. And when you're the person that everybody comes to for counsel and for help and for support, when you get to that place, you feel like you don't have anybody that you can turn to. That was an extremely difficult time for me. But through all of that, I learned to be even more resilient. And I've had to develop some life principles to help me deal with those kinds of issues. And it allows me now and enables me to be a better mentor, counselor, coach, even to younger people and older people alike, because there will be breaches of trust. You can't control that as much as you try to. What you can control is how you respond to it, so that you can still bounce back and be effective at the things that you're supposed to be doing.
Huge. I love that, brother. And I, as a coach, and getting into this beast called entrepreneurship at a young age, having mentors and people that help to support me, I've often identified with that piece, that last piece, especially that you just spoke about, right? And also walking in faith and not, knowing that these realities will exist for us, but still being able to go into another deal and another opportunity and forge partnerships and these types of things. But like you said, being wary, being mindful that people are human and they have this thing, they have human frailties at the end of the day. And I'm sure that has not only challenged you, but like you said, you've learned many lessons from that space. And I'm glad that, again, you've been able to balance both worlds, from your spirituality into business. And I think that's the big piece a lot of brothers are facing, right? Is how they navigate this world with so much corruption that's dealt with on a regular basis, and still walking in their faith and bringing that to the business world. And I'm wondering, some of the ways that, or some things that you would say to brothers that are trying to balance those two spaces. And, you wrote a lot about transformation in your books and stuff like that. So the question I would say is, like, what is your biggest what do you see as like one of the biggest opportunities, also disguised as challenges, for Black men walking in their divine calling, but also navigating the business space?
Wow, that's a great question. Here is the thing, though. We live in a multitude of intersections, okay? And for me, I have learned to bring both my business side, my business life, my public life, my spiritual life, they're all together. This way, I'm one person. The way I do business is the same way when I teach, when I preach, when I get into relationships, it's the same person. So, when you look at business strictly from the perspective of the business gurus and some of the business books and educators, the thought is that you are cutthroat sometimes. You focus on you and the outcomes that you want for yourself. And that kind of lifestyle may, as a matter of fact, if I lived that way, if I did business that way, I've had to cut off business relationships with companies that had that kind of perspective, that had those, operate with those philosophies. You understand? Because it contradicts who I am. I'd probably have more money in this world today if I lived that way. But I know that there is something called wholeness, okay? Wholeness is that you have peace of mind, is that you have your good health. Wholeness means you have good relationships. It means that you have money in your bank account. It's a pie. It's a full serving. I want all of that. I don't want to be, I know people who have all the money in the world and they have nobody who can spend it with them. They go to sleep at night on their own. Yes, they can drive they have 7 cars, and they can travel first class wherever they want to, maybe even own private jets. That kind of money I don't want, right? So if I'm mentoring someone in business, yes, there are people who think that I could be more cutthroat, that I could be more successful, but no, I want to make sure that when I win, that you win as well. It has to be symbiotic. It has to be a win-win. Because at the end of the day, listen to me, someday, listen, the example I give is the Queen of England, right? This woman was powerful as anybody could be powerful in this world. When the time came for her to go, all the doctors in this world could not help her. And guess what? All of the gold, the rubies, the diamonds, and all of that stuff, they stayed behind. Okay? We can do all of these things, amass all of this wealth, and the day you shut your eyes, somebody else becomes the owner of all of those things. And the diligence and all of the things that the sacrifices you made, they will take it and maybe they'll invest all of it and buy one yacht for 100 million. And that's it, and begin to enjoy life. And you would have killed yourself trying to amass all of this wealth and selling your soul and doing all of these incorrect things to be able to do so. So no, it has to be, if you look at success, the way the world teaches it, it is usually one thing. It's money. How much money is in your bank account? But that is not success. Real success. I don't even want to say that is not even success in the kingdom of God. No, I don't even want to say that. That is not real success, period. Because if you have a lot of money and you are dying of cancer, you're just a guy with a lot of money dying of cancer. You understand? Okay.
That's right.
If you have a lot of money and your wife and children don't want to talk to you, well, you're just a rich guy whose wife and children don't want to talk to him, who has to pay for prostitutes and all of that stuff. So success, we have to recalibrate what we see as success. Okay. Yes, I drive a nice car. It's a big car. It's an expensive car. Yes. But one is enough for me. For some people, success is having 7 of them. You drive one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. So, you know, we have to change our perception, our understanding of what success is. And then we can learn to live and enjoy this life. So if anyone was mentoring me and I was mentoring anyone and all they wanted to do was make a lot of money, well, that's one aspect of it. But don't do so at the expense of other aspects of your life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that, brother.
Sadat, come back in. Well, let me do some comments. So we have Free Will saying, keyword, mental health. I'm listening. I'm going to skip his question and I'll come back to it. He says, Captain Ibrahim Torre is going to answer that in his book. And he also says, Free Will says, cutthroat, welcome to the U.S. And he also says, you're talking about the medical monopoly with your past thought. And his question is, why do we look at each other, or a number of us look at each other in a negative way?
Programming. It's been programmed. It's been written about us. Listen, we call ourselves, a lot of us don't want to call ourselves Africans, okay? We call ourselves Black because that's the appellation that was imposed on us. Now, I'll tell you that when the moniker of Blackness was imposed on us as a descriptor of people like us, it wasn't based on the color of our skin, the pigments. Listen, I'm wearing a black t-shirt, okay? I'm a dark-skinned man. Look at my complexion and the t-shirt I'm wearing. This is black. This is not black. When they formulated that appellation, that moniker of Blackness, it was designed to harm you and me. It was designed to, the opposite of that is whiteness, okay? Now, white and black, they are so opposite to one another. There is nothing that brings the two of them together. If you look at Caucasian folk in the way that they actually are, and you look at their complexion, and you look at the complexion of people like us, we're different shades of brown, okay? There is a connection. If you look at it, there is a connection. It's just different shades. But when you think about white and black, it's not even different shades. We're like two different people. Now, the reason for that was because there was a misappropriation of biblical righteousness and piety and holiness, misappropriation of all of that. Because when you see what is white is supposed to be pure, white as snow, Bible talks about it. It is pure. It is everything that we should aspire to be. When you look at black, on the other hand, it is everything deleterious. It is everything that is wrong. It is everything that should not be. And so you try to stay away from it. Now, they have made it so that a lot of our people, our greatest ambition, I mean, some of the fastest, the best-selling items in the black community are light cream to bleach your skin and the weave, okay? Because we have been taught so much that we need to change We need to, Caucasian is the norm. Everything is trying to be like it. All right. And so when you look at that, it's no wonder a lot of us look at ourselves in the mirror and we don't like ourselves. We've been told in the dominant narrative, first of all, that we are nothing. We come from nothing. Well, I don't want to be associated with nothingness. I don't want to be associated with failure. Nobody wants that. So when we hear about all of these failures and nothingness in our community, our skin color is supposed to be we're close to animals and monkeys and baboons, so we're not these we're not as good as other people. These are the kinds of narratives that have been spoken about us. Okay, and so and we've been told that we operate as crabs in a barrel. You must have heard that about black folk, and some of us actually say it. We operate as crabs in a barrel. We cannot, we don't collaborate. We don't do things together. Well, on this show now is Sam Tita. I see the two Kofis and Dr. Vibe. What do you think we're doing here? It is collaboration. And we are changing the narrative. So that is a lie. And we have to learn to take out the lies from our narratives. And this is why I wrote that book. Because we cannot heal without understanding who we truly are as a people. Listen to me. When you have the understanding of who you truly are, you look at yourself in the mirror and I see a handsome a handsome man and a beautiful woman, the way you've been designed, and you know that you are from royalty. Listen, I'm not just talking because it is cliche. You know that you're from royalty. Go back and trace your lineage, my friend. One of the things that we're going to be doing in Enrich Resort City, which is this, smart city that we're building, a resort city. Right next to it is a place called Bimbia, Bimbia, Bimbia. It is one of the most prominent slave ports coming from the continent of Africa. It's about 10 minutes from Enrich Resort City. And we're going to be able to take people back there so that they can reconnect with their roots and get a history of who they actually are. Do you know what happened? These strange looking people, when they came into the continent, our people saw Caucasian people and they thought that these guys were evil spirits. They looked so pale. They looked like they hadn't eaten. They looked sick. They brought them into the camp and took care of them. And then they were explained to them that they came to do business. And being the people that we are, we welcomed them. Yes, there were some warrior kingdoms that fought them, okay? But mostly we welcomed them. Then while we slept, they got up, chained our strong men, raped our women, murdered our children and old people, and all of the strong men who fought back, they were killed. Now, I have read books. I have a PhD. I've read books. I have not seen anywhere in any of those narratives where they say that Africans, that the people who came, the Europeans, let me name it, who came down to Africa and did what they did, that they were rapists, that they were murderers, that they were thieves, and they were kidnappers. You don't ever hear that. But that is what should be written, because if you steal, you are a thief. If you rape, you are a rapist. If you kill, you're a murderer. That's exactly what they did. Now, I'm not saying this in a negative way. I am simply stating it as a matter of fact.
100%.
Now, when we take this information, we begin to think and see things differently. Our people were not some useless nobodies just hopping from tree to tree, and then they got enslaved. We welcomed them into our civilization.
That's
and
right.
While we slept, so when you have this perspective, you begin to see things differently. Now, my prayer is that people don't get mad and upset and all of that. It's been a while. But what I want them to understand is that we were not just a useless bunch of people. Do you know something? The most educated people in the United States of America, most educated. It's not the Chinese, it's not the Japanese, it's not the Americans, it's not the Caucasians, it's nobody but Africans. Go and do it. Go do your research. Fareed Zakaria did a fantastic report on CNN on this stuff when Mr. Trump was saying all these negative things about African people. The most educated, the most career upwardly mobile people in all of the United States of America, they're people of African descent and from the continent in particular. Did you know that of all the continents in the world, all of the economic regions of the world, the countries, the places where, you know, when you talk about Africa, they say, oh man, you can't do business in Africa. There's corruption. There is this, there is that. Listen, Africa has the lowest, and this is a study that was done by, not McKinsey, I forget, one of the big five companies in the consulting space. They did a study and they concluded that Africa has the lowest default rate of all of the economic regions of the world in terms of paying back loans in business. Okay? Asia, North America, Europe, everybody is high. Africa comes the lowest. This is a public study. But unfortunately, these kinds of conversations never make it into the dominant narrative. I was in Cairo when Afrexim Bank, one of the biggest multilateral financial institutions in the world, okay? When Afrexim Bank, in a space of 1 week, inked $42 billion in deals. 1 week, 42 with a B, billion dollars in deals, right there in Cairo in Africa. I stood there and I said, I wish my brothers and sisters could be here to feel the energy that is coming from Africa on the continent, not deals with Europe or anybody else, right there on the continent. Listen, there's a different story to be told about our people, but we have to keep the conversations going and invite more and more people in. Let me drop you this nugget. I was invited as part of a consortium by the same Afrexim Bank, and they have allocated billions of dollars. I know this because the vice president of that division of the bank was in my office in the city of Vaughan. And they have made available money to help people of African descent anywhere in the world. If you want to buy a McDonald's, you want to buy a Tim Hortons, you want to buy any franchise of any amount, anywhere in the world, if you are a person of African descent, they will fund it. They will fund it. For the past year, we've been working with a financial institution in Canada because they don't do small deals. Okay, so if your franchise is 1 million for you and me, it sounds like a lot of money, but a $1 million franchise, they don't do deals like that. They're too small. If you're going to do deals with them, it has to be north of $20 million. So the plan was to bring money into Canada through a financial institution that will now do the retailing of that money so that people of African descent can buy franchises. If you see a hotel franchise for 50 million, if you have the wherewithal to handle that business, they can do it. So I'm saying all of this to say, I know I'm saying a lot, but I'm saying all of this to say that these narratives you're not going to hear on the CNN news, you're not going to see it on CBS, on Fox 20, whatever, you're not going to see it on CP24, you're not going to see it anywhere else, okay? But this is what is happening on the continent. I sit in some of these rooms and the power is palpable. There is something that is happening, and listen, if you don't go into Africa right now, you will miss out the way a lot of us missed out on the internet boom, missed out on all of this .com stuff. We missed out on so much industry 3.0, industry 2.0. We missed out on all of it. We're in industry 4.0, brother. And I'm saying to people, and that's why one of the things that we're doing, we're building this project in Cameroon. It's a $1 billion project. And we're saying, it's okay. You can sit here, go on internet and say all kind of beautiful things about Ibrahim Traore and all of these people. or you can build generational wealth for your family. If you want to, friends and family can join us to be part of that project. If you put enough money in, you can sit on the board of directors, you can meet with presidents, you can meet with leaders of nations, and we can have some significant impact. That's what we're doing with that project, okay? Or you can choose to just be a guy who gets on Facebook and write a whole bunch of stuff. That's up to you. But I've made it in this season of my life that our focus is on building this generational wealth for our families, because you see, man, Dr. Vibe, brother, I could talk for 3 days going. Maybe I need to wait for some questions, because I was just going to
we hear the passion, brother. We hear the passion. We know what you're talking about, and you're getting it in, and I think it's a lot of valuable information that's being shared, right? And I like the fact you are talking about present day Africa. But I also want to add something, just from my perspective, and I'll let people know. This is my personal opinion as well.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to go to Jamaica pre-pandemic, I think around 2020, and I brought a brother from Cameroon, actually, funny enough, to Jamaica. And at the end of the trip, one of the things that he was surprised to see so much of Africa was in the Caribbean, right? So the food, the customs, the language, the culture, right? Very similar. So as someone who's had the opportunity to go both to the continent and the Caribbean, I think, again, forging those ties are very important. And I think it's just as important for, people of Caribbean descent to go to Africa. It's as important for those who are coming from the continent directly to go to the Caribbean and forge those ties, right? Because we're looking at, more of a Pan-African connection, worldwide, wherever we are. And as Peter Tosh says, if you're a Black man, you're African, you're a Black person, you're an African. So I think that connection is important to make as well. I'm not sure if Dr. Vibe has a question that he wants to share right now, but I'll let you in, because I know you haven't asked any questions yet.
I want to just catch up on a number of comments. So Let me just catch up on some comments. Black Nerd Talk says blackness is a construct created by European imperialists. Free Will says Isabel Wilkinson has a book titled Caste. She explains how this came about. Then she has the award winner Warmth of Other Suns. Black Nerd Talk says it says a lot that whenever men look like us who come into audacious positions of benevolent leadership, the media propaganda machines try to destroy our image. Free Will says there is where Captain Ibrahim Traoré is taking a position. Much respect to that man. Black Nerd Talk says there's more pyramids in Sudan than in Egypt. Free Will says I agree, sir. So I think he's agreeing with you, Dr. Sam. Also, Free Will says they may have a hard time with McDonald's. Don't know where that one came in. And Free Will says, thank you, sir. You answered my question. So we are caught up on comments. Gentlemen, Dr. Sam's on fire. Don't put the fire out. Keep it burning. What you got to say?
No worries, for sure. So I want to kind of shift it a little bit around somebody who's a family man. I know the family is very important to you, right? So we always talk about this balance, but as somebody who is, I know being a father and a grandfather, and I'm sure you can be an uncle and whatnot, but as a Black man, how important is it to have that balance of family as you're doing business, and other things like that? So what is, the importance of family for you?
It's everything. It's everything. It's very important. Grew up in a society where family is still considered very important. We support each other. We work for each other. We have, as far as my wife and I go, there is absolutely nothing we wouldn't do for family. And so we help our children, we help our community. Family, if I were to give you a short answer, is everything. I don't understand how you can exist and not have family around you. And I know that for some folks, it's not that they don't want it, but maybe family has hurt them so badly that they've decided to sort of extricate themselves from that dynamic. But if family has done that kind of hurt to you, then you can create a new community that can be family, because you can't control who you're born to be a family member of. You can't control that, but you can certainly control who you invite into your family space. All right. But family, I think, helps us stay grounded, helps us to stay focused, helps to pick us up when we fall. And sometimes even when we focus on the issues of family members, it helps us to stay relevant, to keep on going. It helps us even to fulfill our own purposes, right? Because life is not designed to be lived alone. So family, very, very important in our business. We've tried to bring our kids in as much as possible, but without imposing on them. There is no imposition that you must follow in the footsteps of your father, the footsteps of your mother. Do whatever you want to do, but recognize that what we are building ultimately is for you and for your children and your children's children. That is the way it's been designed. And my hope is that for those of our children who are not part of the business, that ultimately they come on board and we can build this thing, build it together. So family is very important in all the things that we do in business.
Thank you for that. Any of the brothers have any questions? I don't want to take up all the space.
I don't know how much longer we are going to be on for, so I'm going to ask this conversation piece. Earlier on, Dr. Sam, I asked you to give some state of Black men in Africa.
Yes.
What is your message for Black men on this side of the world? Your message, not the state, but your message.
The message is this. We are in the middle of a renaissance. It has begun and it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger and better. Now, in this renaissance, truth about who we are as a people, it's coming to the fore. And as this truth comes, even those who have tried to put a lid on that truth, or to misdirect it, or to dilute it, or even pollute it, those people right now, they are powerless. This movement is that big, okay? And if I were to speak to the men, I would say this. Empower yourselves. Seek to be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person who leads vision. Seek to be an entrepreneur. Find a vision that you can champion, okay? Because I buried my mother about 1.5 years ago, complete illiterate, complete. Couldn't write her name, couldn't read her name. But the businesses that she built to this day are still making money as an entrepreneur. All of the people that she grew up with, who were judges, who were doctors, who were everything else, most of them, unfortunately, died poor, or what they left behind could not sustain their families. My mother's properties and businesses continue to exist today because even though a complete illiterate, she was an entrepreneur and a businesswoman. So I would say, whatever you do, get in the space of entrepreneurship, get up with the times and be familiar with what is going on in Industry 4.0. And if I could leave you with one last thing, I would say find a way to reconnect to Africa, to your foundational roots, and to take advantage of what actually belongs to you. when you go to Africa, you're not going as a stranger. You're not coming as a foreigner. If you come with the wrong mindset, of course, you will be received as such. But come and take advantage, leverage what belongs to you and me. I tell you this, the easiest way to build generational wealth, the easiest way to build generational wealth in the world today, you can do so in Africa. Just about anything you touch is going to turn to gold. Just about anything. So there are so many other things that one can do, other paths one can take, but I am speaking on the one that I am focused on right now. Because Industry 4.0 is playing out on the continent of Africa, and that's where the biggest returns on investment are. And it will help you a lot to be able to do that while at the same time reconnecting with your roots to discover who you actually are as a person.
It's good stuff. Eddie Jumba, I know this gentleman. Eddie, Pastor Eddie says, Dr. Tita, you inspire me to think bigger. Please share more about how I can be part of the $1 billion wealth building project. I know even as a humanitarian, we can serve much better when wealthy.
Absolutely.
And Blackbird Talk says, Eddie Jumba, that was beautiful to read. So do you have a response for Eddie?
Pastor Eddie Jumba is my friend, my brother, and listen, I'm going to use a big word. He is my hero. When people of African descent, Africa came down and were mistreated in Toronto, this brother, with people like, Pastor James, Judith James, and a few others, they just stepped right up and made all the difference in the world. So I respect him, I love him, and we actually operate in some spaces together. So Pastor Eddie, listen, man, I love you, brother. Thank you for those very kind words, but I will speak with you offline on how you can get involved. And let's build these legacies together.
There you go. Wonderful, wonderful. And then even adding to that question, if folks do want to learn more about Enrich Resort City, the smart city, I know we didn't speak so much about it, but investing in it, I know there's opportunities. The information to connect with Dr. Tita is there. So please make sure that you look into that, enrichresortcity.com. And if you wanted to speak to him about some of the other stuff that he was talking about, here is his contacts. Please do reach out to the brother. And I'm thinking, we're coming to that time, but I'm thinking, after that statement around what you said about, what Black men need to do, I think that was a powerful way of kind of bringing the conversation together. And just, any final kind of shout outs, people that you want to thank. I know you just thanked Eddie Jumba on your own personal journey. Who are those folks that help to inspire and support you to become the great man you are today? So were you able to hear that, Dr. Sam?
Sorry, brother, I missed what you just said. I was distracted by.
I was just saying, who are those? No worries. I was saying, who are the folks in your life that have inspired you and helped to mentor you to become the great Black man you are today?
It's a funny thing, but if I have to be completely honest, it was my mother. It was my mother. My father was not around, not because it was an abandonment issue. He and my mother were never married. As a matter of fact, my mother found the wife for him to marry. She was that powerful as a woman, and raised all 5 of her boys, always spoke to us, loved us, made tremendous sacrifices for us. It was she who built the foundation for us to make sure that we were educated, And because she didn't have education, she wanted education so desperately, her father wouldn't give it to her. She wanted to make sure that all of her children were educated. So we got education. And as an entrepreneur, she inspired me and taught us that we were sufficient. We were sufficient. We were powerful. We were not folks to follow other people, that we led. These are the things that I grew up with. My mother, I'm 55. When she gave birth to me, her last son, this woman, it is said, drove her own car 55 years ago in Limbe, drove herself to the hospital, gave birth, drove herself back home. That's the powerful woman that she was. At a time when even in the global north, in the West, women were still fighting for equal rights. My mother was not fighting for equal rights. She was writing the book on equal rights. So she inspired me just about in every way I could think about. So yes, my mother has been and continues to be my greatest inspiration.
Thank you. That was so powerful, brother. So powerful. Thank you for those words. And it's great to know that, again, wonderful mother, wonderful women that are behind, are beside us in terms of our journey as Black men. So I really want to give it up, and I'm inspired by that as well. So we're going to wrap up. I don't know if Dr. Vibe or Brother Kofi, you have any last words you want to share with Dr. Sam? But I want to say, very much thank you for the fruitful conversation. I'm glad we were able to finally connect. And definitely, I am inspired by your words and the way that you've walked in your journey. And I think many of us will be. So thank you very much for, your presence here today.
Thank you. It has been an absolute blast. And let's do it again sometime.
I just want to jump in. Brother Kofi, do you have any final thoughts you want to share before Dr. Tita probably jets off to some other country in the next few days?
For sure. On the hind leg of that last piece of what you just shared, and the impact of your mother, for a lot of the Black boys growing up, without fathers in their lives, if there was one truth that you would whisper into the ear of these young men, what would it be?
It would be that your mother is enough. We have been lied to with this narrative. Listen, I'm a man. I know the role that I play in the lives of my children. But when a man is, for whatever reason, not able to be there, maybe out of foolishness, out of selfishness, out of just situations, and he's not able to be there, don't spend your whole life wishing that daddy was around, thinking that you are inadequate because your daddy wasn't around, or thinking that your daddy was not some big shot, so he could not serve as a proper role model. Okay, if mom was around and she has done her best, then mom was enough, mom is enough. And in the event it happens that neither mom or dad were around, then let it be known that it was their loss if they abandoned you, but you are enough. Now, as loving as my mother was, she loved us, but telling her children that I love you was not part of the it was never part of the conversations that we had. Hugging her children were never part of the wasn't part of the reality that we grew up with. But I wanted my kids to enjoy that, to have that comfort, to have that security, to feel that security. So telling them I love you 12 times a day was not uncommon. and giving them a hug and encouraging them. So I took what mom taught us and I elevated it. Okay. So the fact that I was never told that I love you did not mean that I didn't understand that mom loved me. It's just she expressed it in the way that she knew best how to. So let's be careful about the narratives that we get from the medical sciences, from counselors, from books, from movies, and all of that stuff. They say, oh, because your daddy wasn't around, you're going to end up being an absentee father. Because this happened to you as a child, you're going to do it to other people as well. All of that is a lie. You determine the future that you want to have. And if you are smart and you seek God for guidance and for help, listen, one with God is a majority. You need nobody else. But I'm telling you, mom is enough and you are enough. And the dad that you happen to have, even if he's in prison, he too is enough, because he may just not have been taught properly. He may have come from baggage that was too heavy for him to manage. And that's the reason he ended up where he ended up. So you're enough.
Think that's enough, Dr. Sam. That's more than enough. Funeral file comments here. Dr. Tachi says, hello all. And Free Will says, good advice. My dad passed in 2022. Then eldest sister took the throne. OMG. Dr. Sam, like to say from all of us and the Black Men Can Talk family, thank you so much for taking and investing the most important thing you have, your time in us over the last few moments. As always, I like to say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. And Ashe.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, stay blessed.
All right, family. Any takeaways from that epic conversation?
Yeah, gotta book my ticket to Africa. Gotta invest. Gotta invest, family. Gotta invest. Definitely. There's much work to do, and I think, again, the importance of us who are on this side of the world who've never been to the continent or look at it in a particular way, that it sounds like the arms are open and welcoming us for those who want to, or who can make it there. So definitely looking at some investment opportunities, not just in a financial, but in terms of relationship wise. I definitely need to make another trip to the continent. So, but thank you. I really appreciate the words from the elder.
Wonderful. Brother Kofi, do you have a men's health take for us before we exit the conversation?
Sacred space. Oftentimes we speak about, safe spaces in the community for Black men. Sometimes we say, and I've put it out there as a question, where is a safe space for Black men? And I want to put out the importance of Black men creating sacred spaces for themselves. We're busy, we have all these external commitments, but the ability to decide that at least once a week, you're going to create a space that's specifically for your own wellness, for your own practices relative to that, and ensuring that you can block out that time outside from any external distraction to take the time to provide your own self what it is that you need to fill your cup so that you can start to give from the overflow. We need to get to that place as Black men. So the burnout scenarios, the scenarios where we don't have enough time to take care of ourselves, health issues, all these kind of things can be alleviated by taking the time to create your own sacred space time so you can do your own check-in and ensure that you're filling your own cup. So that's the message I want to actually share with the brothers today is, where do you need to create this space for yourself? When can you create this space for yourself? And what activity will you put into that space?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Dr. Tachi says this has been a very interesting conversation. Isn't it always? And then Free Will says, thank you, gentlemen and ladies. I guess the ladies in the audience. Paul, you want to share an event?
There we go. So for the folks that are in Toronto or the GTA, or want to come across and, we have our big Caravana celebration. I know a lot of folks from America, the Caribbean, and around the world really come through. So if you are in town this week, we have an annual tradition called the Freedom Train. And definitely our brother Louis, rest in peace, was part of this. Blackhurst Center, or formerly known as a different book list. We have a great event where we take over the TTC, which is our public transit. So it'll start this year, July 31st, 10:45 p.m. We're going to meet at Vaughan Metropolitan Center Station. So Vaughan, which is the end of as far north as we can go on the TTC. And then we do a ride all the way to Union Station. Now, what's beautiful about this is that it's not just a train ride, but we talk about history. We have drumming, singing, and fellowship and connection all the way. No stops. We start at Vaughan and we stop at Union, and then we'll have some more celebration when we get there. So again, 10:45 p.m. meet at Vaughan Station, and it goes till 12:15 a.m. If you're not able to come to 10:40 to come to Vaughan Station, you can meet us at Union Station. Right, so it's a great event. I know Brother Kofi, he's been on it before. I've been on it many times, and look forward to this year. And I'm hearing it's expanding. I'm even hearing they're going to be in Ajax, Go, and then people coming on the ride. So definitely, it's a great event. Ability in Action is the theme this year. Again, 10:45 p.m. Vaughan Station, and it'll be great. And just register on Eventbrite if you can, so they know how many people are coming through. So I'm looking forward to this event that's happening this week. All right.
Excellent. Let's shut it down. So as always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show and hit the notification button on YouTube, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. Advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms. Email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibe@show.com. If you want Kofi Sadat, his email is there, nazojam@gmail.com. Instagram at Mooroon. That's MOOREROON, by the way. YouTube, Neza Community. Facebook, Paul.Osbourne31, and also, I got the YouTube covered. Yeah, I think we do. NASA Community. Kofi Morris, email, get well, stay fit. Instagram at Kofi Coach _ and also Cosmic Wellness Group. I don't know too many people have two. I always say he's got two Instagrams. There we go. And on Facebook, he is Kofi Coach. For myself, website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the drvibeshow, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. You also can catch me on Substack at Dr. Vibe, and also Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Walk good. And thanks again, Producer Matt. Take care, everyone.
Love and peace, family.
Peace. Time that our parents, they're like, I have nothing to teach you. I don't know nothing.
My dad's at that point now. It says,
That's my point.
But I'm saying, no, Dad, you got lots more to give. You know how cold it is when these two brothers in their yard.
You know that. You know that. You don't know that, bro. You know
No
that.
joke.
I know we all have these things, but you know what? My go-to is this thing.
Wow.
Black book. It's in the black.
Black
Black
book.
Men Talk, Black Book.